Hi, this is DevBlog number 4, I think it is. I haven't posted or really done anything for a while because in my last DevBlog I was getting sick, and then for the last week I've actually been sick, which was highly unhelpful. So, getting back into the swing of things, um, a couple of things that I ran into right off the bat was a couple more about it's some more positioning things to do with my leap motion this time. Um, but the easiest way that I fixed it, that I should have seen probably earlier in my development, was, where is it? Aha, is this. So this little bit of line of code is from the function that I made first off, that tracks you with the position of your hands. And for some reason, I decided to just overlook that little fact when I was moving the collision sphere. So that's why they've been like kind of, out of the way, per se. Another thing that I've done is, so over here, I've actually added a scene component. Now the reasoning for this is actually because I recently turned back collision on my capsule again. There was a couple of reasons for this. The main important reason is that I needed gravity again, because because I've done movement now as well. How I was doing movement is I'm using the add to movement component thingy. So I turned on collision for that, and then that made me an extra 88 centimeters off the ground as well. So then, to combat the camera now being in the sky, I made a scene component to pretty much the bottom, and then I just moved the camera down to the bottom of there. Uh, one of one of the problems I came across before putting in the default scene thing is that if I tried to move that 88 centimeters down, apparently the camera was having none of that, and it automatically like moved back to the 0, 0 position or somewhere up here. That might be due to the eye level, to the base eye height and things like that. But I found that while I was moving these numbers around, that still wasn't helping. Although that's the solution a lot of people are putting up on the forums. So the easiest solution, in my opinion, is just put a default scene root in. I mean, like, it does nothing. You can just throw it in. It's pretty free. So I didn't change any of the motion controllers or anything. Leap motion is still the same. Capsule. So something that I learned as well while I was throwing objects around is that objects were hitting me. Now, at first you kind of think, oh yeah, well, like, objects should be able to hit you. But my problem with that was that objects were pushing me around. So how I decided to go about that is in the end, decided I didn't want objects to touch me at all. I want objects to pass through me freely, to avoid me going into the sky, and just because, like, it would be really annoying to constantly, like, compensate for your body as a collision. That's at least what I found when I was working with multiple objects. So what I've done is, in the collision presets, I pretty much just made it so that I will overlap all physics bodies. And in my base pickup object, I've actually turned its collision to overlap all the pawns, and I've made the object type physics body, even though the base one isn't actually a physics object. Only the base physics object is the thing. So with that out of the way, all the major bug problems. Oh, I made it so that you can swap items between hands. I'm pretty sure that in my last videos there was footage of me sort of struggling to get an item between my two hands. That was caused by not being able to actually pass the object from one hand to the other. So the way I've gone about that is when I cast to the base pickup object, pretty much if the cast fails, then it fails. Kind of like the normal fail scenario that we had before. And then we set the object, and then after that I'm actually asking it, does the object in my left hand equal the object in my right hand? And if it does, all I have to do is just make my right hand drop the object, and then I can pick up the object very easily at that stage. And there won't be that weird lag of dropping that when none of the hands can pick up the object. I've gone over haptic feedback. Yep. Oh, so one of the things I took on as well was movement. So movement is pretty funny. So after toying around with it for a while, I actually finally realized why a lot of games use teleporting as a form of movement. And like initially when coming into this, I was thinking that I thought teleporting was very jagged. It wasn't very good. I just didn't like it as a movement mechanic at all. I thought there was better solutions. So apparently, when I started doing movement, the first thing I realized is that the normal 600 movement speed that I was going at, I'm not a person who gets motion sickness at all, right? I rarely get any kind of motion sickness. But the second that I started trying to move, I nearly wanted to throw up. Like it was so violent, the reaction. I don't know if that's a point of me not having used the technology for very long, or if the actual function, like the method, was just so incorrect that it just invokes that really heavy motion sickness reflex. How I sort of combated that though is that if I lowered the movement speed like a ton, like I'm moving at 100 units, pretty much, like a meter a second, pretty much. So I lowered it to about to 100. The character in the character movement component, just over here. So yeah. After going slower actually helped a lot. Going slower actually made it so that I didn't get any kind of reaction, which is good, but it's definitely going to need wider testing. I might have to get a lot of my friends over and have them give me feedback about it. Because if the case is that the mass majority gets motion sickness from trying to use the controllers as like analog sticks, then obviously it's just a thing you can't do. You just can't develop that way unless you have like iron stomach people. So how I did this was basically I used the actual touchpad. The touchpad is both a touchpad and a button. So I used just the general button. So I polled for am I pushing down on any part of the motion controller? And if I was, I just set touchpad movement to what it isn't. This makes it so that I can start it as false, and then it goes to true when I try to move, and then goes back to false, and then, yeah, it's just easy way just to flip the booleans. And for the actual logic, I just got the input access. I just got the access of the touchpad itself. So I got its X and I got its Y, and then I started, and then I just put the axis values as its scale value, so that when, know when it's 0, I'm not going to be moving anywhere, but when it's any other number, I'm going to start moving in places. And then it's kind of just normal movement at that point. One thing I did have to keep in mind is that I believe it's the y-axis. It still needs to be reversed. I've also added quite a lot of buttons. Alright, where is it? Ah, here we go. Yeah, the y-axis still needs to be reversed in terms of that scale there. So that was movement. What else have we done? Oh, we've also done spawning a widget in the world. So this is a precursor to 3D menus for me. I just decided that I was just going to make a simple widget that had words on it and spawn in the world. So this time I'm using the right motion controller button in order to press that. Yeah, just to press that, and then it spawns menu. So the simple math here, I just get the cameras. The keyword here is actually the camera's world location. If you're getting just your basic actor's world location, you're going to find a lot of things aren't going to be centered to you. It's going to be a little bit off. It's going to be either, up, down, left, or right, a little too much. Since, like, the camera is the player, I'm finding that orienting everything towards the camera is working a lot better than, not doing that. So yeah, then you just make its transform. For its rotation, I just get its look at rotation based on my location, basically. After I've calculated where I want it to be. I set it 300 units. Based on its size, it needs to be much further than that. But, smaller menus, that will probably be roughly the right thing. For getting rid of it, I'm basically just doing a flip-flop. Just every, second, every time I spawn one, the next time I press that button, I'm going to delete the menu. So that's how that works. So you're probably seeing a lack of add to viewport if anyone who uses the widgets a lot remembers. So down here in 3D UI, I have two objects here. I have the actual widget itself that says hello, and screen size, just HTC1 landscape. And then the other one I have is menu actor. Now, menu actor is just a normal actor. The only difference is that there is a widget component. So in the updated versions of Unreal Engine, you can actually attach widgets and things to actors. I think this is Unreal's sort of precursor to their 3D menus in order to, accompany VR. So, I reckon, it would be really cool of Unreal if they actually made a separate blueprint on their own, maybe, and just gave all the really cool functions to that blueprint. I mean, it's cool they don't. It just means that we're gonna have to make it, but it'd be nice. It'd be nice if there was just a make game button. So in the actor, once you add a widget component, If you come down to user interface, widget class, all you have to do is click down this drop menu and you can select the widget that you are using. Make sure your draw size is the same as your viewport. On the default, the 500 by 500 that I had, I was finding that it would spawn basically just like half of the H. So having the draw size the same as the actual viewport is probably for the best. This way as well, you can just scale down everything. What else did I do? Oh, another thing I did was down in the project settings. I was reading up about do's and don'ts of VR development in Unreal, and down here in rendering, one of the things that I saw was VR instant stereo. So this pretty much just makes the draw calls for your world a lot easier for Unreal, basically, for the engine. So it's aimed specifically at VR. I don't exactly know how it works. I just know that it makes the graphics a lot faster. I'm not a very graphical person, as you can clearly see. I'm more of a mechanics guy myself. I just like making and building things rather than making them look pretty. Making them look pretty is definitely not my style. So, if we go back to player, what else have I done? We have talked about that. Oh, the last thing actually that I have left is picking things up from a range. So picking things up from a range is the exact same as normally picking up an object. The only thing that's different is at the very start of it, I put a line trace by channel. And then basically I'm just making it go in front of the motion controller, sending it forward, and then grabbing the first object it hits. So that allowed me to pick up objects at a range, which was pretty fun. It was pretty good. Other than that, that should actually cover just about everything for now. Yep. I just added a couple more physics object as well, so I had a reason to actually walk around my level. My level. Yeah. Other than that, nothing really that new. I'm hoping to expand on the widgets. Have an interactive menu with the laser pointer and actually going up to the screen and pressing it with my motion controllers as well. That would be very nice. And I'm hoping, and then eventually going through those menus are going to replace this basically, so that I can have different kinds of movement and then go through tabs and switch between teleporting and analog stick and whatnot. And that's it. Alright, thank you, bye.